What's going on, Habibis? I'm Siraj Hashmi.
I'm Mujahed Kobbe.
We're the Habibi Bros. Welcome to a emergency Habibi Power Hour, and we're talking about this for the last 24 hours, 36 hours, Jay, and we couldn't really stay quiet about this. And Unfortunately, it's come to the point where we had to do this, and so here we are. But as for those of you who are obviously for those of you who've been living under a rock, who haven't actually been paying attention to what's been going on in the news over the last 36 hours, looks like we have a full-scale war happening in the Middle East, specifically between Hamas, after they initiated a widespread terrorist attack on now what is as a death toll, I think, is rising to what, 700, 900 people, Jay?
Right now it tops 700 people.
Is that including both Israelis and Palestinians, or just Israelis?
Oh, just Israelis, yes.
Okay.
But combined, you're right. It's topping over probably 1,500 so far.
So we're having this discussion right now because we want to offer some clarity on what is actually happening, because there are a lot of bullshit narratives that are flying about with respect to this particular skirmish. Well, Israel is now retaliating against Hamas, and rightfully so. It is actually pretty crazy, some of the responses that we've seen. We're going to just go ahead and take apart some of them. And before I get into it, Jay, did you have any sort of opening thoughts?
This honestly has been probably the worst terrorist attack on Israel since ever. And I've lived in the Middle East. I lived in Lebanon. This is worse than what happened in 2006. It's worse than what happened in, I even think, 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And the face of the Middle East is going to change after this.
Yeah.
And it is devastating, the loss of innocent lives that we're going to witness more over this.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to recognize that, like, there are a lot of people who are sort of both sizing this whole issue. There's not there. It's actually, and people are talking about like, oh, it's so nuanced and complex. It's actually not very complex at all. The only reason it's complex is because people are making it so complex, because there really is no other way of putting it, but people are literally celebrating and parading the death of hundreds of Jews, men, women, and children, innocent civilians, and they're sympathizing with a cause that has it in their charter to not only annihilate Israel, but also kill all, basically wipe Jews off the face of the earth. And they're saying that these people deserve like support because they're quote unquote freedom fighters. And we're going to get into it. So like, Jay, we're gonna get into some of the responses here that we've seen. So Jay's he's gonna man the boards here and kind of show what we've seen so far, and we're just gonna react to it, because there's at this point there's kind of no. We obviously have like feelings and sentiments about this, and I think it's important, at least I tell everyone sort of where I am at now, because any sympathy I ever had for the Palestinian cause is completely gone, especially after this attack. I mean, this is a nail in the coffin, really.
Right.
If you were wondering if there should be a two-state solution, this is the best evidence that whole idea is that whole experiment is a complete failure.
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's never gonna happen. It's so ingrained in the people and in their minds that they've been brainwashed into this idea of hating on Israel, hating on Jews to the point that it's not enough that they'll have their own country. It's to the
Right.
point where they have to get rid of all of them in the region.
Hmm.
So the thought that, like, even if you're thinking that the solution is like give it back to, or not give it back, but have a Palestinian state, that means genocide against the Jewish people. And people throw the word genocide around on what's happening to the Palestinian people, thinking that that's anywhere close to what would be happening if the roles were reversed. And we saw that. We saw the videos of Hamas soldiers going into defenseless homes and going into defenseless bomb shelters and spraying and killing them all.
Yeah.
That is exactly what it is that they are looking to do. And for there's no thought process in that they can live peacefully with them. Not one of them think that way. Not one of them push for that type of peaceful solution.
I think,
So,
and also like, and you're talking specifically about Hamas, right?
well, I'm not talking only about Hamas. I'm talking about Palestine. The thing,
Uh,
like I explain, is Hamas is Palestine. Palestine is Hamas. They are
at this
part of one.
juncture.
They're part of one and the same. The Palestinian Authority, the Palestinian president, all of that follow and push the same plan and the same goal as Hamas. That's why when you saw the videos of them prancing around dead women bodies on the streets of Palestine and Gaza, all of them are celebrating it.
Yeah.
You don't have tell me one prominent Palestinian, whatever, who came out against this, who came out and said that this is absolutely wrong and condemns it. Not one of them have. All you have the sympathizers and people coming on to MSNBC, our own fucking media, stating that the Jews had it coming and they
Yeah.
had it coming over and over again.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I don't believe that there is a way you can separate Hamas from Palestine and Palestine from Hamas.
yeah. It is important to, and I agree with that point, because look, either the people are completely brainwashed or they're complicit and at this point willingly involved. And after however many years that Hamas has been around, since what, 35, 36 years since it was since its inception in 1987, there has been basically a deliberate attempt to not only wipe Israel off the face of the earth, but also kill every Jew imaginable.
Yeah.
I mean, the state of Israel was created specifically to avoid, to guard against another Holocaust. Israel is the only Jewish state in the world, and it's a very unique situation. You'll never have a place like that. Sure, America has democracy and freedom and whatnot, but it's not considered like a religious state, right? Like there's no state religion. There's a state religion in Israel, and it's just amazing to me that people have so much like hatred in their like to their core for Jews, because they just cannot, for some reason or another, they've scapegoated them so much. I mean, we're going to go through some of the responses that we've kind of seen spreading online, and there are people who are blaming Israel for the Hamas attack that Hamas started. They fired 5,000 rockets into Israel. They got like as close to the outskirts of Jerusalem, and they've kidnapped several hundred people, several hundred Israelis, men, women, and children. I mean, they're trying to. This is not freedom fighting. This is not like. There's very few words that really say like what it is, but it's just deliberately evil.
Yeah.
At this point, so
right. And we're not going to get into the videos
Yeah, we're
or
not.
show
Yeah,
any of those that you've seen, but it is well beyond what you can even consider warfare. It's actual war crimes being committed, and people tend to say, it is a terrorist attack. It's more than it's absolutely more than that. It is an act of war against Israel perpetrated by Iran and Hamas,
yeah.
and we'll
So
get into some of the
yeah,
reports.
let's.
So
What do we? Yeah. So what do you got first?
just so we can share exactly what went down and what happened, there was a can you guys see this okay? So there was a music festival that was happening in the border of Gaza and Israel, and this was a music festival for peace
Hmm.
between Palestine and Israel. And the 5,000 rockets that were shot in were used as a diversion for the ground invasion. You had paratroopers coming in, landing into this rave, and indiscriminately shooting everyone that was attending that rave. They have now confirmed that there were over 250 bodies at the music festival for peace in southern Israel. Reportedly consists of many foreign nationals, including Americans, which, by the way, Americans are also held hostage by Hamas. It has been confirmed. Secretary Blinken confirmed it. Germans, Canadians, and Norwegians. This is going to be a huge international affair that these countries, they're not going to allow for something like this to go unanswered.
Oh no, not at all. Nor should they. And I think what's absolutely bullshit is and well, maybe you have a post from one of the squad members or one of these, so quote unquote pro-Israeli Democrats who are basically calling for a ceasefire. Do you have anything on hand?
Yeah, I have. Every single one of them has practically been a copy and paste. So you have one of the first ones, Ian Presley, stating these devastating attacks on Israel are deeply alarming. My heart breaks for the victims. We need an immediate ceasefire and de-escalation. It is long past time to stop the cycle of violence and trauma and work toward a just and lasting peace in the region.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have a bunch of leftists and a bunch of Democrats and stupid fucking illiterate dumbasses, naive fucks who think that this is actually a good statement. It's not. It is allowing Hamas to scapegoat the innocent lives that they have killed and the people that they have kidnapped. And one thing you're going to see here over and over again between all of these squad members is that you're not going to have any one of them actually call for the return of the people who are kidnapped. So over here you have Cori Bush, the fat fuck who couldn't go a day without eating Oreos on the steps of Congress. I am heartbroken by the ongoing violence in Palestine and Israel, and I mourn the over 250 Israeli and 230 Palestinian lives that have been lost today, and the thousands injured following attacks by Hamas militants on Israeli border towns and Israeli military bombardment of Gaza. So, just so you guys know, they're equating both situations.
The two are the same in their view.
Exactly. They're saying that the response from Israel is just as bad as the attack that Hamas did on innocent civilians. I strongly condemn the targeting of civilians, and I urge the immediate ceasefire and de-escalations. Our immediate focus must be saving lives, but our ultimate focus must be just and lasting peace. Violation of human rights do not justify more violence of human rights. So again, they're saying that Israel is the ones to blame for their attack on human rights. And a military response will only exacerbate the suffering of Palestinians and Israelis alike. Again, zero talk about the hundreds of innocent civilians they took as hostages.
What's just so wild about this to me is that they, you know, they know what they're doing. They know what the stakes are here. And yet, for some reason, they have to take the side of, oh, we can't blame Hamas for this because Muslims are, you know, think of all the Muslim feelings that we're going to be hurting.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking insane. And
Yeah,
this
I
here,
know. I know it's that Norm Macdonald post that is absolutely that has been getting so many retweets and stuff as well, is when he was saying, you know, the thing I'm scared about most is if there's a terrorist attack, all the innocent good Muslims might get called names, or it was something to that effect. It was really good.
yeah,
I can find it.
like
Hold on.
it's absolutely insane because they're equating indiscriminate killing with a precision retaliatory response, and they're saying that those two things are alike. It is not. They like it completely misses they completely miss the point that Hamas does. They use human shields intentionally to drive up the body count on the Palestinian side because that garners worldwide sympathy. Like, these people are all fucking marks. Either they're marks or they're in on it. At this point, I'm willing to believe that they're in on it.
Oh, for sure. And it's really funny that people want to blame Israel for the fact that Hamas uses children as human shields. I mean, you
Yeah.
see them parade them with guns on their shoulders and making sure that they're around themselves. So when there's a response and there's collateral damage, they can parade those dead bodies as if that Israel is targeting
Right.
them on purpose.
Right. And the media fall for it time and time again. The pretty much most of the left, though, if not the entire left, falls for it because they think that Israel is some, you know, demonstrable, you know, entity that is engaging in an apartheid government. And what you don't realize is that Israel specifically uh, forfeited Gaza in 2005 to the Palestinians. Like, they took out 21 Jewish settlements and several thousand Jewish families to basically relocate them to give the Palestinians more control over their own territory. They basically ceded territory over to the Palestinians in the hopes that they would govern their people properly and also not try to kill any Jews. And now it's 18 years later, and we're seeing exactly the fucking repercussions of all this of that particular action. I'm not putting blame on the Israeli government for this. I mean, they did this to try to basically attain a peaceful solution here. You know, it's that in spite of the Palestinians controlling Gaza, which they specifically say is being occupied by the Israelis. Gaza is entirely dependent on Israel for electricity, for water, and they have no economy. There's little. I mean, they complain about all these checkpoints along the Gaza border with Israel. Well, that's the territory that Gaza is in is not considered part of Israel. So it's like, what do they think this is? The United States southern border? You can't just fucking walk in.
Right.
It's insane. And what really disappoints me too is just like, and you know, we'll talk about this particular AOC response here. In fact, why don't you talk about it now, and I'll get to my point in a little bit.
Right. So in the same type of theme as the rest of them, she's going, today is devastating for all those seeking a lasting peace and respect for human rights in Israel and Palestine. Condemn Hamas. Hamas is attacking the strongest possible terms. No child and family should ever endure this kind of violence and fear. And this violence will not solve the ongoing oppression and occupation in the region. So again, victimizing the terrorists. An immediate ceasefire and de-escalation is urgently needed to save lives. So again, they want to make sure that the terrorists and the people who did this attack are saved from any repercussions that is happening to them, rightfully so, right now.
It's
And I
such a
love
violent. Oh, go ahead.
I was like, I love a lot of people who are like tweeting and saying "Long live the resistance" and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, Habibi, it's not going to be live much longer.
Yeah, well, not only that, but like all of these people who are specifically supporting, the Palestinian cause. As you said, Hamas is Palestine. Palestine is Hamas at this point. There are any of these people who are like I saw, I think one random posting like Queers for Palestine. Like, do you know what they do to gay people in Palestine? Do you know what they do to women in Palestine? I mean, like, you got Mia Khalifa over here, like, spouting off about how these people are freedom fighters. Do you realize, like, what they do to people who, particularly, professional whores? Like, that's what she. I mean, because that's what she is. Like, it's not. It's just insane. They.
It's nuts. It's fucking hilarious. It is, because they rape and throw gays off the building. So the leftists, these people who are brain infected with CRT and all this stupid talk about oppression, and you always need to be on the side of the oppressed against the oppressors and all that kind of stuff, is fucking garbage. Especially when it comes to the situation here, they like to try and pretend that there's some nuanced little thing on this stuff, and people are saying, well, they've been occupied for 75 years, and it's their land, and blah blah blah. And if you want to talk about the history of the land over there, you want to talk, like, we can go further back if you want. We can go back thousands of years if you want. You want to just talk about 75 years? Let's talk about 150 years. Let's talk about 1,000 years ago. Let's talk about, let's go back even further if that's how you want to play this fucking game. And they want to pretend like Jews have no right to be in that region or live in that region. Before even World War II, they were forced out of their own homes and living in that region throughout the Ottoman Empire. Like, this is the history. You want to go further back, and you want to talk about 75 years. If you want to play this oppression game of who's been more oppressed and all this kind of stuff over thousands of fucking years, we can play that fucking game.
Yeah. And the left knows the oppression Olympics because they play it every fucking day.
Yeah.
They really do. Oh, we got Rashida Tlaib here. You want me to read this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Rashida Tlaib, who is, I think at this point, the only Palestinian member of Congress. I think before it was her, and then I'm blanking on the dude's name. He's a libertarian.
He's a libertarian guy.
Yeah, the libertarian guy. Justin Amash. So Rashida Tlaib tweets out, "I grieve the Palestinian and Israeli lives lost yesterday, today, and every day. I am determined as ever to fight for a just future where everyone can live in peace without fear and with true freedom, equal rights, and human dignity. The path to that future must include lifting the blockade, ending the occupation, and dismantling the apartheid system that creates the suffocating, dehumanizing conditions that can lead to resistance. The failure to recognize the violent reality of living under siege, occupation, and apartheid makes no one safer. No person, no child anywhere should have to suffer or live in fear of violence. We cannot ignore the humanity in each other as long as our country provides billions of unconditional funding to support the apartheid government. This heartbreaking cycle of violence will continue." Well, if you also think about it, the Biden administration basically funded this attack. And to those people saying, "Oh, the $6 billion that the Biden administration released in assets to Iran, that didn't go directly to
to the
Hamas."
attack.
Well, money is fucking fungible. Okay, if they're like, "Oh, that money that came from the United States, the $6 billion in assets, that was specifically for food and medicine. It wasn't for Hamas or for weapons." And I'm just thinking to myself, are you all retarded? Have you always been retarded? Because that's There's literally nothing stopping Iran from basically giving anything it wants to Hamas. Not only that, as well as Hezbollah, which has joined up in the fucking fight.
Yes, they have. And it's another thing that this is a complete breakdown on the failure of intel that was that led up to this attack. And this just reminds me of a report that came out a little bit ago that shows Iran has high level officials that infiltrated the Biden administration and has been advising them on certain foreign policy issues and stuff. And so magically, we have $6 billion going to them. And this whole thing was been planned out for weeks. There's a report right now that has come out on the Washington Journal, the
Wall Street
Wall
Journal.
Street Journal. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, we couldn't go one episode without Jay butchering something.
Right. So Yashar is tweeting out, breaking: Islamic Republic security officials helped plan Hamas's Saturday surprise attack on Israel and gave the green light for the assault at a meeting in Beirut last Monday. According to senior members of Hamas and Hezbollah, another Iran-backed militant group, officers from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps had worked with Hamas since August to devise the air, land, and sea incursions. This is the most significant breach of Israel's border since the 1973 Yom Kippur War.
So
they're out here, like Iran is proudly out here telling you in your face that they helped with this attack.
Yeah, no, they are completely complicit and responsible, and just because people and the fact that some people choose to ignore this, specifically those in charge within the Biden administration and the State Department, it really just you start to think to yourself, well, maybe it was an intelligence failure, or maybe, just maybe, that intelligence never reached the proper destinations where those decision makers could act on it because I don't know, maybe they wanted this shit to happen.
Yeah, it's very hard not to see that this is where that is the conclusion to reach.
Yeah.
Over all of that type of information that has come in, the fact that this attack happened so brazenly, and the lessening of the rhetoric against Iran from this administration as well, and how they have been very lenient on Iran.
Yeah. Actually, almost basically to the nth degree, to the point where you're like, how is it possible that? Well, actually, we saw reports within the last month or so, Jay, that the State Department is basically just completely compromised by Iranian sympathizers and enablers, and they're making decisions on U.S. foreign policy to tip the scales in favor of the Iranian regime, and it's really it's really unfortunate to see, because the people who are pro peace, who are anti-war, they would never be in support of anything like this. We're already mixed up in the situation. We're already involved. The best solution at this point is to annihilate Hamas, and I'm not saying to indiscriminately kill Palestinian people, but you have to cut the head off of the snake in order to basically start anew. It's just, and look, the United States' involvement, and the United States has always sort of done this where they play both sides against the middle. They speak publicly that they are the Biden administration speaks publicly as if it's backing Israel. We stand with Israel, and on the behind the scenes they're doing all this shit. How is it possible that they're getting away with this? I just do not understand it.
Right. And we don't have a media that tries to hold these people accountable whatsoever. I mean, the first thing that happened on MSNBC was you had this Hamas sympathizer come on the national news program stating that Israel had it coming.
Oh, is that Amon?
Yeah, Amen.
Amon over on MSNBC. He's not. He's actually employed by NBC. Do you have that clip on hand?
I don't have it on hand, but I'll get it right
Okay,
now.
that's okay. That's all right. So while you go find that, it's one of those things where you, and this is actually all Ben's fault. So Ben, you're fired. Sorry, we had to do it. But it's everyone who's like claiming that there needs to be peace, specifically coming from like the squad and from, you know, the Biden administration, like they allowed this to happen. You know, I think Jay, you said this right before we actually went live, was you could see the look on Blinken's, if you looked at and I'll let you talk, I'll let you say it, but Blinken's face said it all, did it not?
Well, it did on the
Meet the press.
not just Meet the Press, also when you're seeing Biden give his remarks as well, you can see it in Blinken's face, and they were quick to come out saying that they are saying that the U.S. response was there's no indication that Iran was behind this. They were quick to come out with saying this, and yeah. Iran, and not only Iran, Hamas's spokespersons were on the BBC saying Iran was completely behind this. Iran greenlit this, like they were saying this, and Iran was flaunting it in our faces as well. But I'll play this one right here. So this is the MSNBC personality.
Coverage. This is MSNBC coverage within like
the initial attacks.
Yeah.
And my point is, what you're going to see certainly within Israel's security apparatus is a debate. Whether that is public or transparent is not going to be as clear cut. But Israeli military officials that I've spoken to over the years have debated whether or not the siege, the blockade, was achieving Israel's strategic objective of trying to bring calm and quiet to the southern borders. And what we see today, if it has achieved nothing for Hamas, it has just shattered the myth that Israel can ignore what happens inside the Gaza Strip, and that doing what it has been doing in the Gaza Strip is the only way to achieve its objective, right? Because there is this kind of domestic political consideration within Israel, which is you have to be tough. No Israeli prime minister succeeds by coming in and saying, hey, I want to achieve peace, but I don't want to achieve it through might.
Right.
And when they have tried to do that, whether it's Yitzhak Rabin, who was assassinated, or whether it's Ehud Barak, who's voted out of office, the dynamic is strength is the only thing that matters. But what we have seen, and this is according to the Israeli prime minister himself, Benjamin Netanyahu, who has tried to calibrate the equation of what peace looks like in the region, right? So for years, it was like, there is no peace with Arabs without peace with the Palestinians. And he has prided himself on saying, I'm going to change that equation.
Right.
I'm going to say, I'm going out to the Arab world, I'm going to make peace with the Arab world, and then I'm going to come back and make peace with the Palestinians. Those are his words. So when you look at the most powerful and perhaps like most important peace agreements that Israel has had, the United Arab Emirates, Morocco, Egypt, Jordan, these are countries that at some point were never directly involved in confrontation with Israel, but Israel felt that if I achieve peace with this, I will weaken the Palestinians. I can make the Palestinians then more malleable to the terms of the agreement.
Because all their friends in the region are not into
exactly.
this fight.
And what the Palestinians have said repeatedly was that they can have peace with these countries, but it's not going to fundamentally change the dynamic on the ground. And the Palestinian Authority has said that, but it's weak, so it's unable to actually change the dynamic or try to impose that calculation on Israel. Hamas, on the other hand, has a different approach, a militant one, a violent one. Not all Palestinians accept it. And it's also very, to Noah's point earlier, Palestinians are not monolithic. It would be very naive to just simply say every Palestinian agrees with what Hamas is doing. But Hamas is saying, well, if nobody is able to defend what is happening for Palestinians in the West Bank or in East Jerusalem with the home demolitions, the arrests, the children being killed, the desecration of holy sites, if they're unable to do that, then we only have the ability to do it with military might and crude weapons and military. And that's why I go back to that point that the Israeli prime minister was making, which is, I'm going out to reach peace with the Arab world, and I'm going to come back
He pause it.
to Palestinians. And
Just listening to him, he talks about military. It's not like it's not like Palestine is a sovereign entity that has its own military. Hamas is literally a terrorist organization. It's not like they control, like, yeah, sure, they have a lot of Hamas members who are part of their, what is it, Palestinian parliament, Jay? I think that was like that first happened in like 2006, 2007 when
they elected into.
Yeah, I mean, like, Palestinians made that happen. Okay, it's not like the people had a say, and all of a sudden Hamas basically took control of the Palestinian Authority, or sorry, the Palestinian Parliament. They were fucking elected into those positions. Okay, so at what point do you decide, oh, we're not in favor of this? Yeah, I get that Palestinians are not monolithic, and not every Palestinian probably agrees with the actions of Hamas. But I mean, have some fucking backbone. At least stand up and I mean, like, at this point, if you're not standing up and speaking against this shit, either one, you're too afraid to, because it's in reality, I mean, they are a terrorist organization and they do kill indiscriminately, and they also don't take well to criticism. Yeah. Or two, you sympathize with it and you support it silently. I mean, there's really no like middle ground here.
There isn't. And you're not seeing any of them completely condemn what just happened. Like, that's again, we're going back into it.
If anything, he's justifying the actions of Hamas. Since, I mean, this is what being a terrorist apologist is about. And what's insane too, Jay, and if this had literally been any terrorist attack on any other part of the Western world, for example, like if it was targeting, like, anyone in Western Europe or in the United States, like, you would have these same people like Ayman and the Squad like condemn Islamic terrorism wholeheartedly, and then go on to say that, like, not all Muslims are terrorists. Like, we're like back on that post 9/11 cycle. But you're not seeing that happen now because of the dynamics at play, and because anti-Semitism, unfortunately, is very real, and most people just want to see dead Jews.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's anything else in this clip that you want to play. You want to just keep going?
Yeah, there's not. But there was a new report also coming out because of from the rave. Mm-hmm. You have some of the survivors.
Are you talking about the peace festival that was happening on the southern border between Israel and Gaza?
I don't know if it's sharing or not, but I'm having some issues with my browser.
Oh, thank God. And he's even freezing up as well, Jay.
I am. Okay, I'll be right back. Hold on.
Of course, this happens. All right, let's go ahead and read some of the chat while Jay is currently fixing that. Kenan Hodges on the local chat says, Hakeem Jeffries refuses to comment on Rashida Taliban's remarks also. Anal Schwab says, Blinken is a shit heel. And then there is this other, I feel like Jay's entire feed he probably has to hop off and hop back on, but his camera froze, which is really puts me in the bind here, because unfortunately Jay was kind of the backbone to this entire presentation. But I can at least share my screen with you and show you some of the shit tweets that we found here. We got here from the Washington Post tweeting out, assault on Israel fuels political attacks in the U.S. presidential race. If we were to go ahead and actually read it, oh, of course, they're not going to show it to me because of how you say the paywall. Thank you, Washington Post. So we're going to just go ahead and just Give me one moment as I pull that up here. This is my favorite part of the stream, is not remembering how to do anything instead. So we have Trump and other Republican presidential contenders sought to blame Biden's policies, while the president's aides accused opponents of spreading misinformation. Yes, it is the fault of the Republic. This is a perfect Republicans pounce type of moment. It's not about, say, the depravity of Hamas, the barbarity of Hamas, and them indiscriminately killing civilians, men, women, and children. No, this is about how Republicans need to not attack the United States president of the opposing party simply because their foreign policy is complete shit. Hey, Jay, welcome back.
Hello. Thank you. Sorry.
We were just talking about this Republican pounce moment.
Yeah.
They didn't use the term. They didn't use the term pounce, but they got very close to it, saying that Trump and the other Republican presidential contenders sought to blame Biden's policies, while the president's aides accused opponents of spreading misinformation. I just like at this point, Jay, I want to shoot myself.
Right. I mean, they're quick. They're so quick to try and cover this administration, even though we have report after report showcasing the complete failures perpetrated by the actual policies and actions from this administration, from their leniency on the Iranian government, their leniency on Hamas, and also the fact that they have been giving support and billions of fucking dollars to Iran. You can see it in their faces. They know they fucked up, and I don't know if Ben can go and find some of these tweets, but every single Biden official came out with the same statement about the funds that were given to Iran. There are like 8 different officials that were quick to try and tweet out like the funds were not, not a penny was given to them yet, and blah blah blah, and all this type of garbage, because they know how bad this is going to look on them and how bad this rightfully they're going to get criticized for it.
Oh yeah, no, it's I can't think of another president who has fucked things up as badly as Joe Biden has. Like every single foreign policy effort or lack of effort has made the world less safe, has made it everything more expensive, has made everyone hate us more, and we have to pay the price, Jay. We're paying the price, whether through our wallets or through our lives or our rights. It's a lot of shit, and unfortunately, there's so many people who tolerate it. I mean, think of like you could say that Hamas invaded Israel this past weekend, and there are people standing up and sympathizing with the Palestinians, specifically Hamas, saying that they're freedom fighters. And on top of that, you could also, or I guess on the flip side of that coin, you look at what's happening on the United States southern border and how porous it is, and the fact that the Democrats, Ayanna Pressley, a member of the squad, goes up on CNN, Jake Tapper, and basically says the border is secure, and then goes on to say it's a humanitarian crisis. Like, bitch, pick a lane. I mean, seriously, there's all these. If you're gonna say that there's a humanitarian crisis happening at the southern border, why the fuck would you say that the border is secure, literally within seconds of each other? It's just I cannot explain the frustration that I have with all this gaslighting. And on top of that, I can't even imagine the frustration of just being a Jew, because no matter what, you're going to be blamed. You're going to be scapegoated for everything. And that's exactly what we're seeing happen right now. They are literally blaming. There are people who are literally blaming Israel for this Hamas attack.
Right. And to your point of freedom fighters, just so people understand what exactly that means, is what I was trying to bring up last time. Is there are now eyewitnesses from the rave massacre that happened, who are accounting that there are scenes of young women who are raped next to the dead bodies of their friends.
Insane.
And they want to say that these are the freedom fighters. There are videos out there of them parading naked women, of having women with blood coming out of their pants because of how violently raped that they were. And these
Jeez.
bodies are being paraded around and spat on. And they're saying Allahu Akbar around and parading them around the streets of Gaza.
Yeah.
So this is what they are. This is, you can't consider this as freedom fighters. This is not freedom fighters. These are disgusting barbarian pieces of garbage that are going to get what's coming to them.
Yeah. No, and it's look, it's everything about it is sad. It's sickening. It's one of those. Did you just show the Adrian Watson tweet? Was that what you showed?
No, it was Tablet Magazine.
Tablet Magazine. Okay, there's a tweet by Adrian Watson, who is I think a member of the National Security Council. She specifically, I don't know if I think I could share it because I have it pulled up here.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just a tweet. Thank God, not a video. So this tweet from Adrian Watson. Let's scroll up because it's actually full on. She tweets, "I can't comment on 2024 because of the Hatch Act, but I can clarify the facts. Not a single cent from these funds has been spent, and when it is spent, it can only be spent on things like food and medicine for the Iranian people." Talking about the $6 billion that in assets that were released to the Iranian regime. She continues on by saying, "These funds have absolutely nothing to do with the horrific attacks today, and this is not the time to spread disinformation." And look at that fucking ratio. At least on that second tweet. The first tweet somehow did not get ratioed, and that's I don't care about that shit. But it's between that and then you have the U.S. Office of Palestinian Affairs. I think we listed that because it actually we listed that and it actually got deleted. And this is the tweet.
Yeah.
They wrote, "We unequivocally condemn the attack of Hamas terrorists and the loss of life that has incurred. We urge all sides to refrain from violence and retaliatory attacks. Terror and violence solve nothing." Well, this is, again, one of those things where, mentioning the ceasefire, which is a complete violation of like Israel's sovereignty because they don't respect Israel's sovereignty and they probably hate Jews. You're going to punch somebody in the mouth, or you're going to like shoot somebody's, grandfather or grandmother, or kill their kids and rape their women. Like, you're going to do that and be like, "Oh, no, you can't. No. I call ceasefire. Ceasefire, no tag backs." Like that is what they're basically saying. You're gonna just say that they should let that shit stand. Like, Israel should not be allowed to like stand up for itself. Like, it's fucking crazy. It's absolutely insane. It is anti-Semitic, and people talk about like these are the same people talk about like, "Oh, we need to crush Nazis." Well, this is basically Nazi-like fucking behavior. Okay.
Yes.
You're basically making it so that you are rendering the Jewish state basically ineffective to run a fully operate a society, operate a country, be a independent sovereign nation that is constantly under attack. Like I just, at this point, it's not even incompetence, it's just straight up evil.
Right. And you have the same people who are saying, Ukraine needs to fight and get Russia out of their land. I'm sorry, who had that land before Ukraine was a country?
Oh, that's right. Wait,
Wait, that's right. You know what I mean? Like the complete cognitive dissonance that they have when it comes to the Jewish people wanting to defend their homelands compared to anything else that's out there. They
Yeah.
don't give the same excuse, and they don't even try to stay consistent with it.
But to get back to your point here, you're talking about the Tablet Mag article and just like the level of barbarity that that we saw, specifically the parading of dead Jews and the raping of women. Like, how do you, with a straight face, turn around to the public after seeing that? And I'm assuming that they saw that. It's not like they don't have the same, phones that we do with the same social media feeds. Of course, everyone has their own algorithm. How do you turn around to the public and say with a straight face, this is both sides' fault. This is the reason why this happened is because of quote unquote Israeli apartheid and the suppression of Palestinian people. That's the reason why these women got raped. That's why these killed. The reason why these kids got killed.
Right.
Like, how do you say that with a straight face? That's just insane.
Why Germans and Americans and Hungarians and people from Norway got kidnapped. That's why they went and they shot up a bus stop filled with old women and children.
It's just crazy. It is absolutely insane. And did we actually get what else do we have that we didn't cover? I know there was we have Jen Rubin. Do we want to share the Jen Rubin? It gets to this point. I'll share it because she's our queen. Okay, she's our queen. So Jen Rubin, she wrote on October 7th. How about this? With U.S. housing chaos and U.S. military promotions on hold, Hamas struck. Republicans' weakness invites terror. Ah, yes, this is the Republicans' fault. This is all. This is open and closed case.
Right, and that's it.
Yeah. So the ouster of Speaker of House Speaker Kevin McCarthy from the speakership. Nice, just the normal congressman. That's what caused this attack, not the months of planning ahead of time and the $6 billion released to Iran, which then basically went over to Hamas and now Hezbollah. Like without Iran's backing, Hamas would just be like a group of radicals that just get together and LARP.
Right.
And
and not only that, the withdrawal from Afghanistan, the weapons that were left over there are also reported to have been shipped to Hamas as well.
Yeah.
And that is another failure within this administration. Had nothing to do with Republicans either.
Yeah. Are we going to blame Republicans for the fact that Afghanistan withdrawal went the way it did, and all of a sudden, boom, you're going to have a bunch of people now have access to the weapons? It was a Democratic president that let it happen, and it gets fucking worse. You got this Gretchen Whitmer tweet, which is honestly maybe the most tone deaf piece of shit I've ever seen.
It's the worst thing I've ever read. It is
Gretchen Whitmer, who interestingly enough has a take about people being kidnapped, who she herself claims to be a victim of kidnapping, even though it was a Fed op. She writes, "I have been in touch with communities impacted by what's happening in the region. It is abhorrent. My heart is with all those impacted. We need peace in this region." I love Damon. In the replies. What region?
Some people did things. I mean, like, it's the most brain dead one I've ever seen ever. And then there's another one from the mayor of London that
Sadiq Khan.
I love so much, because this is the one that reminds me of that Norm Macdonald one. So tragically, we know that violence in the Middle East can lead to a rise in hate crimes in London. I'm in touch with senior officers at the Met and communities across our city. Let me be clear: hate crime in London will not be tolerated. And then, of course, Norm Macdonald with the classic. What terrifies me is if ISIS were to detonate a nuclear device and kill 50 million Americans, imagine the backlash against peaceful Muslims.
We are in a time of extreme stupidity, and man, I really wish Norm Macdonald was still alive to see all this bullshit. It's really
Oh,
it's oh man, I can't imagine being one of these people. And actually, you know what, Jay? I used to be one of these people. And I actually meant to say something about it at the beginning of the show, but I wanted to kind of get sort of like the scope of what is actually happening and sort of the seriousness of the situation happening right now. I used to be one of these people that was like sympathetic with the Palestinian cause and tried to like justify why the and again, this was like when I was like 13, 14 years old, like a freshman, sophomore in high school. Like I didn't know fucking Middle Eastern geopolitics, but I basically regurgitated what I was told. And there was a part of me that felt that because the Palestinians are also Muslim, because I'm Muslim, that they deserve our support. But the problem with that, Jay, and you know full well because you've sort of been in that situation too, is that we can't just blindly support anyone who has, say, the same shared faith as us. I know that you don't really practice, and that's fine. Um, but it's one of those things where if people really understood like what these terrorist organizations are doing, and not just talking about Hamas, but like ISIS and Al Qaeda and Jabhat al Nusra and like these groups, no matter how they're portrayed in the media, they will always, always, always do enact the most chaos and destruction and toll on human life. Like they don't respect life. That's like the fundamental difference here, is that Israelis, well, Jews in particular, Jews value life. The Israelis value life, and there are many radical Muslims. I'm not saying all Muslims are like this because obviously, Jay, you and I value life, but there is like a really problematic sentiment of this, propagating the death cult. Like they don't care. Like, how do you kill someone who wants to die? That's like a classic Cat Williams like uh joke I remember from like one of his old stand-up specials. Like that's another mentality that I don't think any of us really fully understand. Like that is that's going to be like mutually assured destruction of not just that region but possibly everyone. I don't know. Maybe I'm just going off the rails here and going off on tangents. But to get back to my point, yes, everything that I've seen over the last like 20 years, as soon as I started like listening and talking to people specifically about this topic, um, I wanted to still believe that the Palestinian cause was a worthwhile effort. And any sympathy I ever had for the Palestinian cause has completely it's completely dead. Like I don't understand. After seeing what's happening and seeing how if like the reality of what's happening there, that I can't imagine anyone thinking any differently.
Yeah, it's hard because they still do. And what's really funny is that these nations around them that pretend to care about the Palestinian cause, like Egypt and Jordan and Saudi Arabia, UAE, all these places, even Lebanon, like don't even kid yourself, even Lebanon want none of them to go into their country. They
Yeah,
never open their
anyway,
borders for them. They don't open the borders for them. They want them out of their country. And not only because of that, but it's also because they cause a lot of problems in those countries as well. And
this is what happens when you have unchecked and unfettered immigration.
yes, it's exactly what happens. I mean, we look, I was talking about this the other day because of how not only is this, I mean, it's a scary thought, but if you were Iran and you had like Iranian agents in the highest levels in the United States,
Mhm.
how will you start trying to dismantle the United States? Well, one is you'll make sure a lot of their efforts and money is going to some other situation.
Mhm.
Two, you make sure that they keep their borders open so that when they ever call on to cause chaos, it can happen because we have a lot of unfiltered migration coming through the southern border. We don't know how many of them are terrorist agents
Right.
that are
Sleeper
coming through
cells.
there. That can happen. And then you also get them to you get America to also fund your terrorism, and then you start distracting them with other things like the attack they just did on Israel. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of really, it's a scary thing to think about.
Mhm.
And with these reports coming out about how Iran has been infiltrating this administration, it's not so far fetched when you think about it.
Yeah. No,
It's
it
crazy.
really is.
It's Yeah. I mean, it's a crazy thing. Like it's definitely warranted to wear the tinfoil hat.
No, I mean, well, no, Jay, I don't think that warrants a tinfoil hat because I think that's you're actually being practical and pragmatic. Um, what's to stop any of them from infiltrating our government, or even turning people? Like this is how the U.S. this is how the U.S. intelligence agencies work. They specifically try to turn people within foreign governments against their own government by finding them in compromising positions, where they could be blackmailed and they could be bought off. And
Yeah.
if those tactics can't be, they're not. It's not like they're patented by the CIA, right? Like they can literally be used by any other intelligence agency. So what's stopping them from doing it as well? And
Right.
no, I think there's a lot of uh, you know truth to what you're saying, and I think a lot of people who talk about sort of what's happening in the Middle East as being like complex and nuanced. Like, no, it is. We're just talking facts here, and just by talking, I remember my Bubba once telling me, my dad, for those of you who are not familiar with the term Bubba, um, he told me when I was younger that you should always speak the truth, even if it's against yourself. And it's really important, and like today more than ever, to stand up and speak out for what's actually happening. Because while we don't have all the solutions, Jay, we at least can identify where the problem is. And
Yep.
our hope is that our leaders pull their heads out of their asses and actually realize that they are, well, I actually can't say that they're pulling I can't actually even say, giving them the benefit of the doubt, that they actually have their heads up their asses, because that would imply that they don't know what's going on. They do know what's going on.
They do.
But there has to be some solution involved here that doesn't escalate to World War III. Since we're in this situation, you want to make sure that if Israel has to be successful in this, they have to hit them hard, they have to hit them fast, they have to completely destroy Hamas, because you cannot live in a neighborhood and feel safe if every one of your neighbors wants to kill you and blow up your house. It's just, you cannot do it. It is not feasible. It has a toll on just the national move. It has a toll on just every single person living in that region. And
Yeah.
no matter how like involved, or how much they know about it, they're going to be impacted by it. And by impacted, I mean they're going to be fucked by it.
Yeah, it's gonna be impossible not to see a lot of different countries be drawn into this attack, and especially after hearing that Iran is completely taking credit for this attack. They are openly taking credit for this
They're
attack. That
bragging.
not only killed Israelis, it killed Americans, it killed Germans, it took them hostage. it is going to drag a lot of these countries into this issue as well. And this was done by Hamas and Iran. They dragged them into this. They went in indiscriminately to go and kill as many people as they wanted because they wanted to kill all the Jews.
Yeah.
And anyone that's there, they are going to assume are Jews, and they wanted to go and kill them. So there needs to be a huge response, and international countries and communities, they're not going to say shit. I don't think we're going to see them say anything against what Israel is doing and going to do to the rest of Gaza.
Mhm.
And like you said, it needs to be hard and it needs to be decisive. And hopefully, inshallah, God willing, we're going to see the deaths of the leaders of Hamas be paraded around here in a little bit.
I mean, like, it's funny because Jay, you're basically Twitter's it. Like, you say everything that no one else would say, and so I commend you for it. I don't like to wish for the death on anyone, but I do wish that they be held accountable. And look, I'm not saying that anyone deserves to die, but there really are only a few people. I would say a very small group that only speak one language, and unfortunately that's violence. And I don't know where the cycle of violence ends, and part of me is conflicted that once you go down that road there's no turning back. Well, we're already down that road, and as far as I'm concerned, Israel has to win this thing. They just have to.
There's I don't even want to think about like the what it means if they don't. And it's insane. If you go on like WhatsApp and you go on, you see all these different things in the Middle East. It's very, very sick. And
this mentality, it's gonna be sick. And I was just gonna say, like how we talk about like all these different ideologies that in the United States, like the transgenderism and CRT and all that shit. So all the communist socialist bullshit. Like this is not just like an ailment. This is a sickness. This is a cancer on the brain, to believe that other people are subhuman to you simply because of who they are, what they believe, and or immutable characteristics like their sex, their race, color, their skin. I mean, it's their ethnicity. That's where we're at. And the same people who kind of got on this moral high ground, specifically in the last like 10, 15 years, are the same ones who are, basically they're basking in this like glow of victory that the Jewish state is being decimated. It's just humans are just so fucked up. Some people are just insanely fucked up. So it's like the idea that like the only and what I mean specifically to ideology is that the only way that you solve your differences is through violence. Like that is what all these people, that's what these people only know. And I really just I would advise them to go outside and touch grass, but like that would be like too generous. Like I personally would wish that
after what's going to happen right now, they're not going to have any grass to touch. It's all going to be rubble. It's all going to be rubble. That's what it is. Yeah, that's it. And and it's so crazy seeing things in academia and the protests that happen directly after this.
We literally have protests today, and we're going to try to wrap it up here because we just hit the 69-minute mark. But we literally have people. I'm just going to share my screen so you can see exactly what's happening in the United States right now. These are the types of people in Times Square in New York City. This woman, who, by the way, is probably Ilhan Omar, tweets holding a sign that's saying Zionist nightmares. 10,673 Egyptians, that's the Yom Kippur War, and 10,723 Palestinians, this particular attack that's happening right now. And then there was one other tweet that I wanted to show, but
The one I just retweeted, Oilfield Rando, who's showing like many different.
I'll show you. Yeah, I'll
here
get
it
to
is.
that.
That's
You
it.
can go. This is the one. Okay.
Yeah.
This is from the Australian Jewish Association, and they write, no words of condemnation are sufficient. Muslim communities in many areas celebrating the slaughter of Jewish women, men, children, and babies in Israel. And here is a very brown man holding his phone up, displaying a swastika, the Nazi symbol.
Oh yeah, they the Palestinians and Hamas and everybody, they don't shy away from their complete support of Hitler and the Nazis and what they were doing. I mean, even before, the tribal leaders of Palestine sided with Hitler and with the Nazis, and so it's really funny. You see all of these whiners and pieces of garbage in academia and experts and all of this stuff on MSNBC and everything cry about anyone and everyone being a Nazi, turn around and excuse Hamas for murdering Jews. Like this is actual real violence and discriminatory attacks against the people.
It is, again, it is a sickness on the people, and honestly, it's a sickness of their own doing, of their own making. And they allow that to happen to them. And look, there's a difference between being brainwashed and just willingly going along with it. A lot of these people are willingly going along with it, and that's unacceptable. There should be zero tolerance and patience for these types of people. And I think the moral equivalence just needs to end. Hamas needs to be completely obliterated, because you do not achieve peace when you, at this point, negotiate with terrorists. There's no peaceful outcome, because it's not like the terrorists are going to somehow be it's not like they're going to be reformed and be like, you know what, I was wrong all those years. I shouldn't have been talking about. I shouldn't have been trying to kill Jews all those years. Oops, my bad. Like people need to live in reality, and like, look, you could put, if you want to blame the Israeli government for not completely obliterating the Hamas and turning Gaza into a parking lot, sure, you can do that. But I think it also speaks sort of to the fact that the Jewish people really do value life, because if they didn't, that place would be a fucking parking lot yesterday.
Right. Oh, dude. dude. Dude.
What?
I mean, the Huff post is like, it's dog shit of dog shit. You don't really.
Yeah. Dog shit on top of dog shit. What you got now?
Media calls the attack on Israel unprovoked. Experts say that's historically inaccurate.
Oh my God.
The way the media uses the term experts and critics and all of this stuff needs to go to fucking hell. That's what it needs to do. And anyone who says it needs to go and meet Shaitan while he shoves a fucking pineapple up their asses. That's what needs to happen.
It feels like you have a little bit of experience of pineapples being shoved up asses, Jay. Is something you want to share with us?
So that is what I came up with as a punishment with Shaitan against all of these Hamas people who are about to be killed, that they are going to get pineapples shoved up their ass, and right next to Hitler and all of the other people that they fucking praise. That's what they're going to see.
Honestly, I like the creativity there. That's pretty good. So I know we kind of went on for a while. I'm glad. I appreciate everyone who's stopped by, listened to us sort of process this out loud. Jay and I are, if you meet us in real life, we despite what you see here on the show, we actually are a fun bunch. This is just a serious issue. And I wanted, Jay and I really wanted to make sure that we approached it and handled it in a serious manner, because it is very, very important that everyone understands what's going on, and that if we just pretend like nothing's going on, that's how you let genocides happen. Like that, Hamas is trying to wage a genocide on the Jewish people. Just let it be known. It's not like it's any mystery. It's in their charter. They want to do this, and there are people who are literally cheering them on and wanting them to let it happen. So
Yes.
we feel it's important enough to say, hey, you know what? Genocide is wrong no matter who it's against, even against Jews in Israel. I'm not saying like it's like even us saying that like makes us like a target. You realize how crazy that sounds?
No, it's
And I don't want to say that. I'm not trying to like misspeak here. I feel like I misspoke just now, and I just want to like, I'm not saying that Jews are in any way inferior to like anyone else, but I'm just telling you that the main perpetrators of this particular attack just so happen to be Muslim, and we don't give a fuck if they are, because they are straight up evil and they need to be obliterated. Simple as that. Simple as that.
100% agree. I'm right there with you on all of that.
So, anyways, Habibi. Oh, go ahead, Jay.
No. I just wanted to say
final thoughts by you. Final word to you, Habibi.
Okay, final word here is that there is no comparison to what people conceive or try to believe is victimized on the Palestinian people that you can compare to what happened today, and there's more than enough justification on the response that the Israelis are going to put down on Gaza. You can dilute yourself all you want. You can spin it any way you want to pretend that you guys that the real victims are the Hamas people who raped these innocent people, who paraded their bodies around and spat on them while saying Allahu Akbar. But Allah is going to laugh at every one of these person's deaths, and they're going to spit and be spat on their body when they get to hell. That's what's going to happen here. Yeah. So that's what I have to say with it.
Well, I appreciate it, Habibi. We'll be back on Tuesday night for another Habibi Power Hour, back to our regular scheduled programming. See how the situation develops. Obviously, I felt like it was important enough for us to dedicate a whole show to this. And hopefully by Tuesday, we'll have at least a little bit more clarity on what's happening. So, Habibis, thank you so much for joining us. Before you go, make sure you hit the thumbs up, that follow, join button, and we'll see you next time on the Habibi Power Hour. Peace out.